They told you Drew McIntyre started it. They told you McIntyre lost control. They want you to believe the Scottish psychopath just snapped. But what if I told you every single thing that happened on Smackdown this past Friday was exactly what Jacob Fatu wanted? What if McIntyre walked straight into the most perfectly laid trap in WWE history and didn't even see it coming until he was face down, bleeding, and broken through an announce table in front of the entire world? Because here's the thing. Drew McIntyre thinks he's the predator in this story. But Jacob Fatu? The Samoan werewolf? He just proved on national television that Drew McIntyre is prey. Let's talk about what actually went down on Smackdown, March 20th, 2026. Because if you only watched the highlights, you missed the real story. And by the end of this video, I guarantee you're going to be furious whether you're a Drew fan or a Fatu fan, because what happened on Friday night changed everything heading into WrestleMania 42. Drop a comment right now and tell me, who do you think really won Friday night? Because it is not as simple as you think. Let's set the scene. Before Smackdown even went on the air, before a single fan had settled into their seat with their overpriced popcorn, cameras were already rolling in the parking lot. And what they caught? It was chaos. Pure, unhinged, beautiful chaos. Drew McIntyre was in the parking lot like a man possessed. He wasn't waiting for a match. He wasn't waiting for a promo segment, a handshake, or a referee. He found Jacob Fatu's car, and he destroyed it. Not just the car. He put his body through the windshield. He ripped the glass off the frame with his bare hands, dragged Jacob Fatu out of that vehicle, and started slamming him over and over again into the hood of the car like Fatu was a piece of sheet metal he was trying to flatten. Headbutts, punches, that cold, mechanical Scottish rage that we have seen simmer for months, it finally boiled over. Fatu was busted open, bleeding from the forehead. Security rushing, referees screaming, officials trying to pry McIntyre away like they were pulling a wolf off its kill. And the Scottish psychopath? He stood over the bleeding Samoan werewolf with absolutely zero remorse, zero hesitation. This was a message. This was months of frustration, months of Fatu costing him title shots, Fatu inserting himself into his matches, Fatu taking a wrecking ball to everything Drew had built, all of it coming out in one savage, explosive moment in a WWE parking lot. Now here's where most people stop watching. Here's where most people say, okay, Drew won that exchange, moving on. But stick with me. Because what happened next is where this story completely flips. Drew marched into that arena like a conqueror. He grabbed a microphone. He stood in that ring and told everyone exactly what he was about. He said he came to Smackdown to fight. He said anyone who has wronged him, anyone belongs to him. He said the only place he should be is the main event of WrestleMania, and Jacob Fatu took that from him. Drew was hot. He was electric. The crowd was buzzing. And for one brief moment, it looked like Drew McIntyre had just taken back control of the entire narrative. And then Nick Aldis walked out. Now I want you to think about this moment carefully. Because Aldis didn't come out to congratulate McIntyre. He came out to bury him. He stood there in his perfectly tailored suit and told Drew McIntyre to his face, on live television, that he was the most self-sabotaging person Aldis had ever known in professional wrestling. He said Drew had every opportunity in the world. He said Drew wasn't on his way to WrestleMania. He was on his way to unemployment. Unemployment. At WrestleMania season. In the hottest feud on SmackDown. And Drew? Drew didn't back down. He looked Aldis dead in the eye and said, "You'd love for me to quit. Fatu would love it. But quitting is too easy." He even took shots at Aldis on a personal level, told him his own son should be ashamed to have a corporate stooge for a father. That is a man burning every bridge he has left, with a smile on his face while doing it. That's when Jacob Fatu came out. Here's where you need to pay close attention, because this is where the story changes. Fatu came out of that back curtain still bleeding from the parking lot attack, blood still fresh on his forehead. Security hadn't even finished cleaning him up backstage. And he didn't care. He didn't ask for a medic. He didn't ask for a timeout. He walked straight toward Drew McIntyre like a man who had already decided how this night was going to end. They brawled. Again. In the ring, at ringside, in the crowd's face. And initially, McIntyre held his own. He fought back. He landed his shots. For a moment, it genuinely looked like Drew had the upper hand again. But then Fatu threw him into the ring post. Hard. The kind of thud that reverberates through an entire arena. Then into the steel steps. Then, and this is the moment that has the entire WWE universe talking, Fatu backed up, measured McIntyre, climbed up to the ringside barricade, and leaped off with a crushing splash that sent both men through the announce table. Let me paint that picture for you one more time. Jacob Fatu, a man who was bleeding from his skull just 20 minutes earlier, climbed a barricade and launched his entire body onto Drew McIntyre and drove him through solid wood and steel like they were made of cardboard. Security was screaming. Officials were scrambling. The announce team was completely losing their minds. And Drew McIntyre, the self-proclaimed real gangster, the man who said no one knows his whole story, was laid out, destroyed, in a heap of broken table wreckage on the arena floor. Now tell me, who really won Friday night? But wait, because we're not done. Because the parking lot and the ringside destruction weren't even the most insane moment of this brawl on Friday. No, because later in the night these two found each other again, backstage, near the loading dock, near the truck entrance. The MFTs, the rest of Fatu's crew, were standing with Solo Sikoa backstage when McIntyre and Fatu came flying past them, brawling into the truck bay area. Neither man capable of stopping, neither man wanting to stop. This wasn't a wrestling match anymore. This wasn't a sports entertainment segment. This was a war. A genuine, personal, boiling-blooded war between two men who genuinely cannot stand the sight of each other. Security failed. Management failed. The guardrails of professional wrestling completely failed to contain what was happening between Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre on that night. And the craziest part? There is still no official WrestleMania match announced between these two, which means WWE is holding back. They are saving the biggest explosion for when it counts most under the WrestleMania lights. And when they finally step into that ring at WrestleMania 42, with nowhere to run and no security team to separate them, it is going to be an absolute bloodbath. Now let me give you some context, because this feud didn't just happen overnight. This has been building since the summer of 2025, and every chapter has been more vicious than the last. It started when Jacob Fatu lost the United States Championship to Solo Sikoa, his own bloodline family, and Drew McIntyre kicked him while he was down, starting a feud that immediately felt different from anything else on Smackdown. There was real heat here. Not the manufactured kind. The kind that you can feel through the screen. Then came October. McIntyre launched a brutal surprise assault on Fatu that legitimately cost the Samoan werewolf the final 2 months of 2025. 2 months off television. 2 months where Jacob Fatu sat at home and stewed in everything Drew McIntyre had taken from him. And if you think that kind of time off doesn't fuel a fire, you have never seen a man come back from an injury with something to prove. Fatu came back in January of 2026 at the steel cage match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. And he didn't just return. He inserted himself into the most high-stakes match of the season, laid out both men, and indirectly handed the WWE Championship to McIntyre, all while making it crystal clear that the score between him and the Scottish Warrior was far from settled. Then came the Elimination Chamber qualifying matches, Drew costing Fatu costing Drew the undisputed championship. Tit for tat, blow for blow. An escalating, accelerating chain of betrayals and retaliations that was always going to end the way it ended on Friday night, with cars being destroyed, with blood on the hood of a vehicle, with two men putting each other through announce tables while nobody in the building could do a single thing about it. And this brings me to the thing I want you to really sit with, because I've seen a lot of people online saying Drew McIntyre has officially lost the plot, that he's too unhinged, that attacking Fatu in the parking lot before the show even started was reckless, desperate, embarrassing. I disagree. Completely. Drew McIntyre did not lose control on Friday night. Drew McIntyre chose violence. There is a difference. This is a man who has watched everything he worked for get dismantled piece by piece: his WrestleMania main event, his championship, his position at the top of the card, and rather than play by the rules of a system that keeps failing him, he decided to go to war by his own rules. He put Fatu through a windshield because that is the language Jacob Fatu speaks. You want to act like an animal? Drew McIntyre will meet you in the jungle. But here is the problem for Drew, and this is the thing that should scare every single McIntyre fan watching this video right now. Jacob Fatu does not break. This man was bleeding. He had just been dragged through a windshield and beaten on the hood of a car. And he still came out. He still brawled. He still put McIntyre through a table. He still found him again backstage and went after him a third time in the same night. There is no amount of pain that stops Jacob Fatu. There is no amount of violence that makes him stay down. He has been in positions in his life that make a parking lot brawl feel like a Tuesday morning. Drew McIntyre is a great, legendary professional wrestler. But Jacob Fatu? Jacob Fatu is something different, something WWE has never quite had before, and Drew is about to find out exactly what that means on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania 42. That's where this ends. That is the only destination this road has ever been heading toward, and I'm telling you right now, if WWE books this match correctly, if they let these two men go out there and tell the story that Friday night promised us, this could be one of the greatest WrestleMania matches in years. Not because of a fancy stipulation or a celebrity involvement or a cinematic gimmick, but because the hatred is real, the stakes are real, the blood is real. Drew McIntyre has been the most compelling, most infuriating, most captivating character in WWE for the last year. He's the man you love and hate at the same time. He's the man who was this close to everything he deserved and kept watching it fall apart. And Jacob Fatu is the unstoppable force who has been lurking, building, waiting for the moment where he gets to unleash everything on the man who took 2 months of his career from him. Two immovable forces. One collision. WrestleMania 42. But before I let you go, I need you to do something. Right now, in the comments below, I want you to answer 2 questions. 1. Who do you think came out on top Friday night, Drew or Fatu? And 2. How do you think this match ends at WrestleMania? Because I want to know where this community stands. I want to see the debate. I want the receipts. Drop your answer below. Share this video with every WWE fan you know, because this feud is about to go to levels that Smackdown hasn't seen in a long time, and I want Ring Rumble 1 to be the place where we break it all down first. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. We cover every Smackdown, every Raw, every pay-per-view, and we don't do takes. We do truth.